We had surpassed 1.9, almost $2 million that was raised on Giving
Very
Tuesday.
close to 2 million, yeah.
Very close to 2 million, mashallah, which is amazing on one single day.
We've just crossed 700 million US dollars raised on the platform.
Mashallah.
And alhamdulillah, that's mind-boggling, but that's a number. What impresses me more than that number is now the number of countries. 156 countries of donors and fundraisers. Behind the scenes is crazy. MashaAllah, like anyone in the charity sector, they know that Ramadan and the month before Ramadan is the busiest time of the year.
You were talking about the Ramadan incentive program, and I believe this was called the Ramadan Referrals.
Remind yourself why you're doing this. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of the impact. We're so busy telling other people what the impact of their donations are. Let's have that minute with ourselves and remind ourselves of the impact of our efforts, the impact of our blood, sweat, and tears.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. Hope everyone is doing well, inshallah. Welcome back to the Impact Lab podcast. Today, I'm actually very honored to have a very dear friend, someone who's very special, and someone, mashallah, who's a mover and shaker at LaunchGood, Adil Chowdhury. Adil, welcome to the podcast.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the intro. It's great for my ego.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Adil's, mashallah, joining us right now from Canada. He's originally from the UK. He lives in UK, runs a team over there as well. But mashallah, Adil is the head of business development overseeing the entire global market. Mashallah. So Adil, we'll kind of get straight into it because there's a lot that I wanted to discuss. But mashallah, I just wanted to say one thing that, the last time we talked was on Giving Tuesday. And, mashallah, we saw the numbers that LaunchGood was able to do after Giving Tuesday. I believe like we had surpassed 1.9, almost $2 million that was raised on Giving Tuesday.
Very close to 2 million, yeah.
Very close to 2 million, mashallah, which is amazing. On one single day, the ummah coming together, rallying for all of these different charities, organizations to be able to provide that support.
Yeah. For us, it's just inspiration every day. More so on a Giving Tuesday than any other Tuesday. But doing this job, it's a great window into seeing the generosity of the ummah.
Mashallah. And Adil, one thing we were just talking about earlier too is just like, mashallah, the impact that LaunchGood has had overall, not just Giving Tuesday, not just in the last year, but since inception. And we were talking about, we just crossed a big milestone. Tell the users what that big milestone was.
Yeah, so we were just looking at the numbers earlier, and we've just crossed 700 million US dollars raised on the platform.
Mashallah.
And alhamdulillah, that's mind-boggling, but that's a number. What impresses me more than that number is now the number of countries. 156 countries of donors and fundraisers, people doing things for the betterment of others, but also 2.2 million donors, right? Whether they donated 700 million or 700 billion, that's 2.2 million people that believe in the same cause, the same vision of doing good in this world. And like I said before, we're at the middle of it, and it inspires us every day to see that impact.
Absolutely, mashallah. And then speaking of billion, given where you are right now in Canada, that's in terms of raised capital, raised funds, that's almost $1 billion. A little shy, but almost a billion Canadian dollars, mashallah. Mashallah. So that's really amazing, mashallah, to see, all the ummah coming together, the charities and everything coming together in a very beautiful, beautiful way. So Adil, I hear we're a few days away from Ramadan.
Yeah. And we're feeling the heat, feeling the pressure.
I'm sure you're feeling the heat. This is the busiest time of the year. This is when, all the organizations are really trying to, create the biggest impact. Give me a little sense of what's happening right now in Ramadan, just like behind the scenes.
Yeah. Behind the scenes is crazy. MashaAllah, like anyone in the charity sector, they know that Ramadan and the month before Ramadan is the busiest time of the year. Now, we're not a charity, but we work with thousands of charities. To support them to do what they do best in online fundraising, we need to make sure we've got our A game. Not just in Ramadan, but we started planning for Ramadan back in November. And now it's only a few days away. All of the teams from product, engineering, our customer service, the business development team, we're all gearing up on calls every day. And that's why I'm in Canada, actually. I'm based in London, but I wanted to meet up with the Canada team. In fact, we've got colleagues from the US that have flown in to work together this week. We're a hybrid remote company, But sometimes working together, we can really 10x our productivity and make sure that we're supporting the charities that we work with in the best way. So that's what brought me to Canada today or this week. And I'm heading to the US this evening and then back to London next week.
Awesome. And like one of the things I really admire about LaunchGood is that it's in that sweet spot. You're working with the nonprofits, you're working with the charities, you're creating that impact. But then also, if you look at it from one lens, you're almost like a software company too. You got the product managers, you got the team, you're doing the work, you have the product development team, Mariam, and all the amazing individuals, mashallah. So it's really inspiring to see that even from like an Islamic entrepreneurial standpoint, that it's not one or the other. You can do both. You can make an impact, create positive change around the world, and inshallah be successful from a dunya standpoint as well, inshallah. It's very inspiring to see that.
And just absolutely off the top of my head, I know people in this company that are, ex-Tesla, ex-NASA, ex-this, ex-that. I came from IBM myself, and the Ummah doesn't lack talent.
Absolutely.
And we've gone through the numbers, we don't lack money, right? But when you put talent, money, and skill and passion and all of these great ingredients together,
absolutely,
we can literally change the world. And it's not us doing it, it's those people on the ground, whether they're doing a food bank in central London for the homeless or the poor, or someone is giving food packs or emergency packs in Palestine, or building schools in Pakistan.
Yeah.
This Ummah is amazing, it's talented, and we're in that sweet spot between the donors, the change makers, the charities, and everyone in between.
Absolutely. And just speaking of the charities, it's what I've also seen on LaunchGood's end is that it's no longer, it's not that it has always been this way too, but it's not just the charities. There's also like the smaller micro community aspect. Someone passed away, from someone's particular family. The community coming together, the families coming together to be able to raise, money for that, for the need for that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Charities and fundraising for humanitarian causes is a big part of what LaunchGood does. It's a big part of what this Ummah does. And that's why we're there to serve that. But like you said, we can't ignore the average everyday Muslim, whether they're in the West, East, middle, in between. We all go through struggles in our life, whether it's medical expenses or an accident, or God forbid, someone that's close to us has passed away. So what can LaunchGood do for that person? And we actually have a dedicated team for personal fundraisers, for individual fundraisers. Just to give you an example, for anyone that's lost a family member, it's quite common now to see that family or that individual, that spouse, brother, child, want to do something, a sadaqah jariyah or an ongoing charity for the person that they've lost. And that's where LaunchGood can come in. That team that works with personal fundraisers, they have this thing called the Flash Support Fund, where if in those early days, where the community rallies together, the janazah happens, people visit, everyone's checking in on a family. If that family wanted to raise for a particular project, whether it's a water well or a school or orphans, anything as a sadaqah jariyah for their loved one, if they can raise $2,000 in 2 days, we can double that.
Mashallah.
Right? Now, that might sound quite technical, but why? We've seen that the community gets together in the immediate aftermath, right?
Yeah.
And that's when we can leverage that community support for this individual, for this family, for the person that's passed away. And people can really rally together. Now, people will raise sometimes less than $2,000, more than $2,000. The amount doesn't matter. But the message that I want to give and the message that that team gives is, in that moment of need, LaunchGood is there. We're here to support. We've got a team ready to support you, not just with the donation boost and the financial element, but to walk you through that process.
Absolutely.
Some people might have always wanted to build a masjid for someone they've lost. They have no idea how to do it. They can chat to us. We can find a partner and we can guide them through that step so they can grieve and have that closure and that sense of solace by doing something meaningful for that person that they've lost.
Absolutely. Now, Adil, just a question. You're talking about the Flash Fund. Is that something that's just for Ramadan, or is this an ongoing thing?
The great thing, this is year round.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. And the Flash Fund, is it restricted to any particular, like the US market only, or is that available?
It's another great question. It's anyone, anywhere in the world.
MashaAllah.
To keep things simple, we say $2,000 for a $2,000 boost.
Yeah.
But whatever the equivalent is
Equivalent
in
currency,
the person's
yes.
country, whether they're in the UK or Canada, the Middle East.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, Adil, I attended the webinar that you did. I think it was like last week. And one of the things that was really interesting to me, that really stood out, you were talking about the Ramadan incentive program. And I believe this was called the Ramadan Referrals. And from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially it's, you know, you as an individual or even as an organization, you are essentially getting individuals to opt in for the daily charity campaign in Ramadan, the daily giving for the month of Ramadan. And for every organization or every individual that joins this, what was the incentive for that, Adil?
For a charity, if someone signs up through that charity's link, regardless of how much that person signs up for every day, that charity could get a boost of up to $100, £100, 100 of the currency that person signed up for.
So if I was to sign up...
That might sound a bit abstract. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just saying, so for example, if I signed up for, let's say, a charity that you and I are both passionate about, like $5 a day type of thing, then that organization, because maybe it's an intention that many people have, like, hey, I want to be able to give during the month of Ramadan. You know, I want to be able to, inshallah, maximize the amount of sadaqah, maximize the amount of donations that I'm giving. So I'm already doing it, right? Now, if I'm just doing it through an organization link, now they're also getting impacted as well. So it becomes a win-win.
Yeah. And this is the best part. It's a win-win-win. Now, it's a bit complicated. It's probably the longest explainer I need to give for a LaunchGood feature. But whenever I've explained it, people realize why it's my favorite feature that we have in Ramadan. And so if we take a step back, it's all about something called the Ramadan Challenge. Exactly what you said. Anyone, anywhere in the world can automate or schedule their sadaqah, whatever amount they want, for 30 days of Ramadan or even just the last 10 nights. Now, the great thing is that donation will go to a different cause every single day. Either they can choose or LaunchGood will allocate it for them. So in 30 days, that's 30 different causes. And you just set it up once. And it really ties in with the Islamic value of doing a good deed, small but regular. Right? It's great to give $1,000 donation here or there. Sometimes $10 a day, you might not even notice it leave your account. But that's making an impact somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so I love that for donors. But how can a charity get involved? Like you said, they can create a referral link. Someone can sign up to the Ramadan Challenge through them. Now, those donations will go to 30 causes. A charity might say, why aren't I getting all of those? Why isn't it all coming to me? And we're saying, hey, the carrot for you is because you signed them up for our scheme, we'll give you $100 as a boost, or £100 or 100 Canadian or Singaporean, whatever the currency is.
Absolutely.
And then this ties into a charity's pre-Ramadan fundraising plan. If they push out referrals, this is what the scheme is called, the referral scheme for the Ramadan Challenge. You're not asking your audience for money. You're not saying, hey, donate to my masjid or donate to my project. You're saying, our friends at LaunchGood have this great giving scheme. Thousands of people do it, support 30 causes in 30 days. But if you sign up through my link, we benefit too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that donor gets the benefit of automating the sadaqah. The organization or the charity gets a boost per person. So imagine if they get 10 people, that's $1,000, right? 100 people, even more. And it's a great way of what we call raising funds without fundraising.
Yeah, absolutely.
But fundraising is still important. So in Ramadan, once Ramadan starts, they can go back to those people and say, okay, now's the time to give to us. Give your zakat, give your sadaqah, all of that.
Absolutely.
So it's a bit of an explainer, but it really works, especially for causes that struggle with traditional fundraising. If they're not a humanitarian cause, but they have an audience like a school, a masjid, a youth club, it's perfect.
Yeah. And I think one of the beautiful things too, as you're just mentioning that for me personally, is like the beauty of it going to 30 different charities. Yeah. Like that's such a Muhammadan thing to do, mashallah, subhanAllah. That it's like you're giving and you don't even know where it's going. it's going to a charity, a noble cause. But I think there's just something so beauty of that, because oftentimes, even for me, like, I'll notice that I'll just give to the charities that, that ask me, or they might be doing an event in our masjid, or I may receive their email. It's always a reactionary thing.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about this is that it's going to 30 different unique charities. Someone's doing something beautiful in Gaza. Someone's doing something beautiful in Somalia, or is going to a school effort in Pakistan, like, or even here in, your hometown. Like we saw the LA wildfires that happened. There were beautiful Sadaqah Jariyah charity projects that were happening there. For example, the masjid that burned down and other efforts.
Yeah.
So it's going to everywhere, which is very beautiful to see. And just one thing
imagine.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just imagine coming on Eid Day, that donor will get an email every time their donation goes out. But they basically end up with a portfolio, like I call it a paradise portfolio. Again, we don't know what deeds are accepted, but imagine on the Day of Judgment, you go to Allah and you see these 30 different causes. But not just the cause, not even the dollar amount. Because Allah doesn't focus just on the amount. With the sincerity and whatever it is that is important in our deen, that $1 can go so much further. And it can really build someone's paradise portfolio.
Absolutely.
So I haven't used that in any webinars or anything, but just on a personal level, wouldn't it be great to see all of the dozens, thousands, millions of people that your dollars have impacted? You never knew their name. You never knew what country they're from. You have no intention of visiting. You might not even realize the money went to them. But you see the benefit when you need it most. That's powerful.
That's the beauty of the Paradise portfolio. We're going to inshallah build that together. So on also just the Ramadan referrals, Adil, one question I had, or something actually I was very interested in, and you can speak a little bit more about this. So last Ramadan, there was a team that raised, I believe, over $1.8 million through the Ramadan referrals. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of organizations that take part in referrals. Now, some charities, what they do, I don't want to reveal their secrets, so they might not be happy with me, but
in general,
rather than just thinking, rather than just thinking on an individual level, I'm one organization, I'll go out and get people to sign up. But what if we take this idea and that organization doesn't just recruit donors, they recruit people who are going to recruit donors. They could be imams, teachers, community influencers, social media influencers, and even you might see Mufti Menk. And in fact, some of these charities do use people as high profile as him.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if they invest their time in those people with an audience, rather than just recruiting 100 signups, they could recruit 50 people that can get 5,000 signups.
Absolutely.
And imagine 5,000 signups for a charity, 5,000 times 100. You do the maths, right? That's not my strong subject, but that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's great. And more organizations are thinking more strategically about the referrals. Yeah. And that's great. Absolutely. We want to put these products out in the community so anyone can benefit at a basic level, whether it's a masjid or a school or someone that's just getting started and they need a few $100s to run their program. Or if you're a much larger project and you want to raise hundreds of thousands or even in the millions, right? This is a product that is not out there anywhere else. Because there are some fantastic fundraising websites or tools online. LaunchGood aren't the only ones here. Yeah. But we have an ecosystem. We have charity products and we have donor products. And it's about connecting the charities to those donors. That's where we can come up with creative ideas like the Ramadan referrals or the other incentives we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually just something so beautiful I saw on the Ramadan referrals recently, I believe it was just even yesterday. I was on Instagram and I saw certain stories of individuals, influencers, where they were promoting their link, but they were also giving something of value in return, whether it's an ebook or some sort of resource, some sort of value, which is very beautiful to see. So it's because there's obviously, again, we're creating an ecosystem. So naturally, there's going to be, inshallah, hundreds and thousands of individuals and organizations doing this, sharing their referral link. Now, as me as a donor or as an individual, this can be something that separates, right? This can be a separator from an organization to another.
Yeah.
So that's something very interesting.
It's just another example of people taking that idea, making it their own,
Right.
and adding their own spin or flavor to it.
Absolutely.
I know a couple of organizations are giving hoodies away, others that are doing ebooks, others doing discounted courses, all sorts. And I love to see it. We're very creative at LaunchGood, but it makes us even happier to see others use what we have in an even more creative way.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I love that. What's something interesting you've seen outside of that, like in terms of like giveaways?
I'll tell you a funny one, right? Now, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. I don't condone this. But seeing as I'm in Toronto, I think the last time I was here, the traffic was a nightmare and the city was shut down because of Taylor Swift. Right? I'm no music fan, Taylor Swift fan, but there was one organization that last year, they said, if you sign up through our link, we will do a random draw and someone will get Taylor Swift tickets. I had no idea.
I thought you were going to say a trip to the Haramain.
Yeah. But, this ummah's diverse, right?
Oh, man.
I had no idea. And even LaunchGood, we were surprised. We found out because someone emailed us saying, I signed up for someone's link. I haven't received my Taylor Swift ticket. We're like, what? Have you got the wrong website? But that's how we found out it was an offer from. Yeah.
Oh, man. That's subhanAllah. That's so funny. Adil, tell me a little bit. And I know like from just the past experience I've seen on Giving Tuesday, you guys have an aspect called the daily contest where there's certain amount of prize money. Essentially, actually, it's the whole aspect of gamification, right? There's an entire gamification aspect. So actually, let's approach it from that angle. Tell me a little bit about all the different gamification aspects that LaunchGood has.
Yeah, great. I mean, you hit the nail on the head around gamification. That is something that in our experience we've seen has been able to 10x fundraising, right? Because fundraising is hard as it is. You speak to any charity worker, any fundraising manager, they work day and night in Ramadan, before Ramadan, after Ramadan. So what can we do to help incentivize them and activate their communities? And we call this gamification, but we do this in a few different ways, the most famous being our daily contest. So what does that mean? Every day in Ramadan, we have 2 leaderboards. And any fundraising page on the website is automatically eligible. First leaderboard measures how much someone raises in a day, how much a page raises in that day, the dollar amount, let's say. But the second leaderboard doesn't care about how much you raise. It cares about how much that page brings in terms of supporters. How many unique individuals support that page? So we have these 2 leaderboards, and it's a 24-hour competition. So every single day it resets, starts again. So that means we have on each leaderboard 10 winners each day, across 30 days. Again, a lot of winners. But ultimately, this can attract organizations that can raise high amounts in one day. We've seen similar things on Giving Tuesday.
Yeah.
But not everyone can raise hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars in a day. But they can inspire people to give whatever they can, however large, however little. And there's rewards for both. And we give away up to $5,000 as a donation boost to first place on both leaderboards. But there are prizes all the way down to 10th place every single day. But it's not just that. On the 27th in Ramadan, which is a day that everyone does more anyway, we're seeking Laylatul Qadr. We pray more. We do more good deeds. We read more Quran. We give more charity. So just like the community, we want to match that because we're from the community. So the top prize isn't $5,000 that day. It's not $10,000. It's not $15,000. It's $20,000 as a top prize in one day on each leaderboard. And every single prize is quadrupled on the 27th. So we really want to match the generosity of the Ummah and meet the Muslims where they are, because we are the most generous community in the world.
Absolutely.
And we need incentives that can follow through with that and match that every step of the way, inshallah.
Absolutely. And no, that's so beautiful to hear that. And like, because just reflecting back on Giving Tuesday was just one day. And you had to strategize, you had to, go all in, because it's that one day of opportunity. But I think the beauty of Ramadan, from what you're saying, is that it's 30 days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's, being strategic, getting creative, and maybe even saying like, hey, let's put all of our efforts together and say, hey, I want to go after my goal, inshallah. My intention is that we want to win the most supporters on the 7th, 11, 22,
Yeah.
right? So kind of being strategic and then saying, all right, let's put all of our efforts together and make sure we get that,
Yeah.
right? Because
It's exactly how you win.
absolutely.
You can't win every single day. It's very difficult. So this is where charities become creative and strategic.
Yeah.
They plan a day. They get the volunteers together. But you know what? One of the most inspiring and heartwarming things I've seen? Back in London, we've got multiple community groups and Islamic groups that take part in this. They love it. But I've seen examples where an organization wins one day and their volunteers and their team are like, hey, let's help out another organization tomorrow. We know we can do this. Alhamdulillah, we've won.
Mashallah.
We've got enough. Let's help
Mashallah.
others. And that is such a great example of how believers behave, right?
So prophetic.
We have an abundance in our community. Our risk is written. Let's help each other do the great things we do. And that's exactly why LaunchGood exists.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. And then just on the topic of gamification, I saw one of the things that you guys are doing this year too, and you guys may have done it in the past, is a peer-to-peer aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Like LaunchGood, we love contests. We love competitions, leaderboards. We just spoke about that. But what if an organization wants to run their own competition?
Right.
Let's say you're a school or a masjid, or you have volunteers. We call this peer-to-peer fundraising. So you have a team page, and each of your students, volunteers, team members, they all have their own fundraising page. And that allows them to compete with each other. We'll give them a leaderboard. We can even incentivize that with boosts, right? Because it's all about activating the community. Your average Joe, or I'd say your Harun, or your Ahmed, or your Muhammad, or your Khadija, to go out there and spend some part of their Ramadan. And it's not just for Ramadan. They can do it any time of the year, but we see it more in Ramadan. Inviting their friends, not just for iftar, but to opportunities to give sadaqah, because that, Ramadan is the month that anyone and everyone's pockets come alive, and hopefully by Eid they're empty, but Allah refills them and refills them with better.
Absolutely. And now just a question from my end. You can couple these together, right? So let's say, for example, if I'm going to, as a charity, say, hey, I'm going to galvanize my community for the 7th day of Ramadan to be the most supported campaign. And then internally, I can also have this crowdfunding that's happening where, for example, let's say I'm in Islamic school and we have, 200 kids. We create a prize, like that number one winner gets a, what is it now? PS5, PS6? I don't even know what number they're on now.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Or even like an Umrah giveaway, like these creative raffle ideas to be able to galvanize a community to come together. And inshallah, be able to win the most supported campaign or the most raised campaign.
Yeah, I mean, again, each feature can be a standalone. Organizations might want to take part in one thing or another.
Right.
But like we said before, they can get creative. They can get their volunteers pushing one page today, win a daily contest, and then run their own peer-to-peer competition the next day, or have a strategy for the first 10 days of Ramadan, which could be just going for one page, everyone supporting one page. Then in the middle 10 nights or the last 10 of Ramadan, they can all have their own pages and reach out to their family. It's all about finding different ways to activate communities towards sadaqah and giving.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And although just like another big part of Ramadan too, for obviously Muslims around the world is Zakat. I think one of the beautiful things that LaunchGood has done is that they've made it so easy, right? There is an entire landing page. There's an entire section on the website where as a donor, if I need to, obviously we need to, it's an obligation for us to disperse our Zakat in a very beautiful way. And it's very amazing to see that LaunchGood has created that as a place, as an ecosystem within LaunchGood, where as an organization, if I'm doing efforts that are Zakat eligible, I have a place on launchgood.com where I can feature a campaign that is specifically towards Zakat. But then also more importantly, as a donor, right, I can go to all of these different charities and see, okay, hey, this is this Zakat campaign seems very interesting. Oh, this is so fascinating, right? Because if I have, let's say, for example, $100 I need to disperse of Zakat, I can get creative and say, okay, I want to give 20 here, 20 here, 20 here to 5 different charities to be able to create that beautiful impact. Have you guys seen it from a LaunchGood standpoint? Like, has a lot of capital donations come in through Zakat last Ramadan?
Yeah, I think just thinking back to last Ramadan, we had about over $25 million donated in
MashaAllah.
Zakat.
Wow.
That's not a small
That's
amount,
amazing.
right?
That is amazing.
But it's a drop in the ocean of how much the community gives in Zakat globally. And it's all about creating ways that people can give Zakat with confidence, right? Not
Beautiful.
everyone needs to be a sheikh or understand the intricacies of who is entitled to Zakat as a recipient.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows that, but they know that they have to give.
Yeah.
They might not even know how to calculate how much to give. So we've got a Zakat calculator.
Oh, nice.
That solves that problem. Then we can present Zakat eligible campaigns. Now, this isn't anyone saying it's Zakat eligible. Every organization or campaign that applies for the Zakat eligibility badge on their page goes through verification. We've got a Zakat verification team. We've got a Zakat policy. We have sheikhs that will verify that, yes, this campaign matches our interpretation of what is eligible for Zakat. So they deal with all of the technical and the jurisprudential intricacies of this. As a donor, all I need to know is if there's a Zakat badge there, then I can give my Zakat to that campaign.
It's already been vetted.
Simple.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even a charity, not every charity has a Zakat team, a Zakat policy.
Absolutely.
But they might be wondering, okay, I'm doing this work in this locality or in this town. Could I use Zakat for this? Could I collect Zakat for this? They can create their page, they can apply, and our team will verify. And then they can get back to them and say, hey, yeah, you can collect Zakat for this. Or this Zakat isn't the best option for this. Focus on Sadaqah. So we can empower the organizations and the fundraisers as well as the donors. And like I said, we're the most generous ummah in the world, community in the world. And a lot of that is because Zakat is literally a pillar of our faith.
SubhanAllah.
Just lost one of my earphones there, but don't worry, I've got one more.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so beautiful to hear. And just one thing I'm just thinking to Adil is like, man, Ramadan is a Super Bowl. I don't know if you know about Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is big here in the States. Yeah. We just had ours last weekend. But Ramadan is like the Super Bowl for Islamic charities to come together, because that's when you are raising the most amount of donations, right? And it's, donations are the lifeline, and it's the blood and the lifeline of these organizations to be able to operate year round.
Yeah.
Right? Because the amount of money that you're raising in Ramadan, you're not necessarily raising that in June, right? You're not raising that same amount of capital in July, right? That's something that's almost exclusive to Ramadan. Yeah. So given the stage of Ramadan and how impactful and important it is, are there certain things that you've seen, and depending on how much you can disclose, but just like, because you see thousands and thousands of campaigns, like it's so important to start marketing these efforts before Ramadan. You can't wait till Ramadan first to be like, hey, it's Ramadan. What are we doing this year? It's so much more important to start these efforts beforehand. Are there any like strategies that you've seen, or any advice that you would give, or any recommendations? Like, what can people do now to set themselves up for success, inshallah, in Ramadan?
Absolutely. Like you said, Ramadan is so important when it comes to fundraising and giving. Some organizations might make 80% of the funds that they raise in a year just in Ramadan. Wow. That's a very normal scenario, right?
80%.
So a good Ramadan could mean a great year. And again, these aren't for-profit companies. These are not-for-profits where funds raised equals more output, more food packs, more houses, more homes, all of the different causes that these organizations fundraise for. And just like we're told the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they would prepare for Ramadan, 6 months before?
SubhanAllah.
Ramadan is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Absolutely.
It's not just the 30 days you need to focus on, you need to prepare for it. We prepare for it spiritually. We might do some fasting beforehand.
Absolutely.
We might read a bit more Quran or listen to some lectures. It's the same thing with charity. We need to prepare for that fundraising. They say if you fail to prepare, you've got to prepare to fail. It's the same here.
Absolutely.
Now, just like our organization at LaunchGood, we prepare for Ramadan months ahead. If you're thinking, look, Ramadan's a few weeks away or a few days away, I don't know what I'm doing, then get your pen and paper out and start strategizing.
Yeah.
And there's a few key ingredients that's going to take your campaign from a fundraising page into a successful fundraising page. Now, one part is the content, right? What people see on LaunchGood. We have thousands of campaigns on LaunchGood, and you need to stand out.
Yeah.
Right. What is going to stop me as a donor on my phone or on my laptop scrolling through all of these great campaigns and stop at yours, not the one next to you or the one before yours?
Yeah.
And this is where we really try and emphasize the importance of linking the donor with the impact. Let me give you an example. If we're dealing with Sajjad charity, right? And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make a LaunchGood page and I'm going to drive a lot of traffic to it. I'm going to get my audience to go. I'm going to take out some ads with the LaunchGood team. What should I call my campaign? Oh, I'm going to call it Sajjad Ramadan campaign. Me as a donor, I'm scrolling. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, right? What are you even doing with the fundraising? You don't have long to make that first impression.
Yeah.
But let's say you were doing food packs in Kashmir. Yeah. Instead of calling it Sajjad Ramadan campaign, say, feed 2,000 Kashmiri orphans iftar this Ramadan. So when I see that, I know instantly that my donation is going to feed 2,000 orphans in Kashmir. So be specific with the end recipients, where the impact is going, country, the number of people, what it is. So I can picture it in my head. I can picture a food pack. I can picture iftar.
Absolutely.
And on the topic of pictures, you've got to have great images. Right? You need to have images that showcase the impact, not just the need on the ground, because we know there are a lot of people in very dire circumstances. And I'm not a fan of putting that out in front of people and guilt tripping people to donate. Some organizations might do. It's just my personal opinion. What I love to see is, again, the impact of that donation. It's not even the food that's important. It's a smile on that person's face when they've just finished their meal. They've just had meat and they haven't had meat for days, weeks, or months. So seeing the smiles and the result of whether it's a food campaign or a school or a widow or anything, the positive impact of that is what people need to see.
Definitely.
Because a lot of charitable giving is feel good. It's normal. It's human nature, right? We can be guilted into doing something, or we can do it because we feel good about it and we want others to feel good. And for me, that's a much more positive driver. So if that can be embedded across the whole campaign or the fundraising page, you're already onto a winner. But that's still only half the battle. That's a great campaign. Now, how are you going to get people to visit it? How are you going to get more eyes onto that page? You can take out ads with LaunchGood. That's one avenue. You can send newsletter to your LaunchGood page. You can get volunteers to get people onto the page. There's 1,000,001 ways you can do this, but you need to have a plan. Just like you have a plan for your fundraising page, you need a plan for how you're going to get people to that page. And if you have no idea what you're doing, that's where the LaunchGood team comes in. We're not just a website. We're not just a product, tech, stack company, whatever. My team and my teams globally, day in, day out, they are on the phone, on Google Meets to different organizations, charities, individuals, helping them not just craft a great campaign, but build a great strategy. So if you're stuck, just get in touch with us at LaunchGood and arrange a call with someone in our team, and we can help build that. But let's do that now. Let's not wait for Ramadan to come, because Ramadan comes quickly, but it also goes quickly.
Definitely. Definitely. And I can attest to that because before you and I joined in, we could overhear the other brother in the back who was coaching a client, essentially coaching a charity. Hey, make sure you do this.
The teams are on calls every day.
Yeah, so it's very beautiful to see. So you mentioned a few things that I think are very important because again, just from I'm just thinking about it from a marketing standpoint too, that how important that title, the campaign name is. Because like imagine, for example, just something even simple, like if I'm searching for something on Google, like I'm doing some research, I'm trying to find the recipe to cook the best falafel, right? I'm not going through the detail of what's inside the links. I'm just going based off the subject line, right? And essentially the importance of having your campaign essentially as a hook, something that if someone looks at it for a split second, oh, this is interesting. Let me look more about this. Right? It's almost like the goal of the campaign line is just to get you to open it. Right. And then once you've opened
it's exactly that.
Exactly. And just like you said, that's now where the imagery is playing a big role. And I'm sure you guys have seen like videos probably play a big role too within the campaign pages.
It's all about the attention economy.
Right.
Right. With the rise of social media, whatever these organizations, these ad companies, these social media platforms can do to hold your attention, they know they can then monetize that by, putting ads in front of you or doing this or that.
Definitely.
Now let's put a positive spin on this. If you're a fundraiser, the longer you can hold someone's attention, the more likely they are to support your cause. So how are you going to get their attention? You need that hook. That's the title or the header image. Then when they're on the page, videos, they're much more engaging than just reading something. I can read something in a second and decide whether I like it or not. But if someone's talking to me on a video, I'm much more likely to pay attention to the content and what's happening. So the longer you can keep someone on your page, the more opportunities you have to showcase the impact you're making on the ground and selling that cause. But you're not selling a product. You're not selling a mobile phone or a drink or whatever it is that people might want to sell online. You, again, are selling the opportunity for people to build that paradise portfolio, right?
Absolutely.
And that's something that we all want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Adil, like all of these things are essentially happening on LaunchGood. Now, what is something, or from your experience, like success you've seen that happens kind of outside of LaunchGood, right? So for example, like on social media, right? Like how, from your perspective, from a creative angle, have you seen people drive traffic to the LaunchGood page in creative ways from outside?
Some examples I've seen are
and I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No, that's good. It's making me think. Giveaways or even challenges. We used to see this on Twitter or X, where you would donate and you would nominate someone else to donate, or nominate 3 people. And you create these giving chains as well.
That's
and
so
these
interesting.
Trends. And we see this all over.
What was it like the ice bucket challenge that happened a few years back?
Ice bucket challenge, yeah.
Very similar to that, yes.
Yeah. It's the same idea. But one thing that's really come to the fore is the rise of influencer fundraising, where we have people that have built an audience, whether it's through lifestyle or Islamic knowledge. You might have your Mufti Menks or whoever. They have an audience. Now, historically, a lot of people, and these are my observations being in this sector or engaging with this sector, would donate to a charity primarily because of that charity's brand, that charity's image in their mind. For example, I know Islamic Relief. I've known them for a long time. I've donated for many years. I trust what they do. That's great. People should do that. But nowadays, this generation of millennials and Gen Z or X or whatever it is, they have much more loyalty to individuals over brands and organizations. So if my favorite sheikh is supporting a campaign, I want to give because he gave.
Absolutely.
Or because he's fundraising for this.
Absolutely.
Or it could be my favorite influencer or my favorite sportsman. And that trend has really taken over across the sector. And we're seeing this on LaunchGood as well. So if you're a fundraiser or a charity, find these people in your community that have a following, whatever kind of following it is, because the chances are if they want to support your cause, their followers want to as well.
Yeah. And actually, that brings up a very good point too, because it's like, oftentimes when we think of influencers, we think of, the multi-million followers, the Mufti Menks of the world, the Habibs, any particular UFC fighter.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that is a type of influencer, but there's also many tiers within it. There's like the micro influencers, there's the nano influencers. It's people that not necessarily just have a following, but they have influence.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's very important. And it's for us charities being like, okay, who can we partner with that has that sense of influence that can, inshallah, create that positive influence for our community? Because we're not asking them to buy a particular product, but in this case, it's about creating that impact, inshallah.
Absolutely. Like you said, not everyone is a Mufti Menk or a Sheikh Omar Suleiman or Dr. Yasser Qadi, but there might be a youth worker that everyone in your community knows, or the imam, or the auntie who is always cooking iftar and samosas and getting her children to distribute them on the first day of Ramadan. I love those aunties,
Absolutely.
by the way. Right? People in the community that have that influence and that trust.
Yeah.
And again, to some level, we're all an influencer. We have influence over our families, our friends, our colleagues. And that's the essence of crowdfunding. We see it on a macro scale with those mega influencers, but we see it every single day as well on an individual level.
Definitely. And Adil, one thing additional, because like we've talked about what makes a lot of campaigns successful on LaunchGood, from a donor standpoint, even from a platform standpoint, as charities that are running ads, running campaigns on it.
Yeah.
What are some mistakes you've seen? Like, what are some top mistakes or top pitfalls you would recommend organizations to just be conscious of? Like, hey, we've seen organizations make this mistake, right? Or certain shortcomings that you may have seen that you would just advise, charities to avoid or to better plan around.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's a big topic, and again, it's hard to say mistake, but I'll say things that I've seen be
missed
less
opportunities
for organization, missed opportunities. Yeah. Number one, you have to meet your audience where they are. Right? What does that mean? In business, for example, if I'm selling you this mobile phone, you might have seen other analogies. I could spend 10 minutes talking about what model of mobile phone, how many cameras it's got, how much hardware or RAM or this or that, and all of the different apps. Yeah. But I could bore you in 10 minutes of doing that. Or I could say, I could sell the value of the phone, right? I could say, hey, your emails, your calls, all of this in one place. It's so handy. It solves this issue with your work, your family, your calendar, all of that stuff, right? Now, I gave a really bad example, but the whole point is selling the value. Right?
Yeah.
And we hear about this in business all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes a pitfall can be we talk so much about the technicalities and the process of our charity, all of the little details and the nice things that they do. That's important. But sell the value, sell the impact.
Absolutely.
What is the end result of all of the different projects you're doing? Yes. You might have some fantastic infrastructure, but what's the point of that infrastructure, right? Not everyone is an engineer or even a charity expert or an expert in development, but we can all relate to that human impact of what happens on the ground and how someone's family their life can be transformed. So that's a very common pitfall. Other things are, it's important to be flexible, especially in the humanitarian space, right? You might have a plan of how you're going to fundraise or even what cause. Not everybody has the option of fundraising for multiple causes, but if you had something in mind, but then global attention goes towards another cause, you have a difficult decision to make. Do you want to continue with that original cause you were doing? Let's say it's a school in Pakistan, but then God forbid there's an earthquake in Turkey or Syria, right? Now, for a lot of these big charities, they need to decide, do we pivot or do we stay? Now, it's not easy, but what we can say is those that are flexible and able to pivot can capitalize on that donor attention, especially if it's on social media or online or on the news. It's really important to have that level of flexibility if you can.
Absolutely.
If you can't, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's mitigations.
Absolutely.
You need a plan A, a plan B, a plan C.
Definitely.
Don't rely on a website or a page to do all the work for you. There's 1,000,001 websites at the click of a button.
Absolutely.
Have a plan on how you're going to get people to that page, whether that's through LaunchGood ads or through a marketing company or through volunteers. There's so many different ways. You just need to have that plan.
Definitely.
And a lot of people sometimes go into Ramadan sort of very naive and think, yeah, if I just have a page, funds will come.
Absolutely.
Maybe they will, but not quite to the level that you might need or expect or hope for.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think just to kind of add to that too, like we kind of mentioned earlier, one pitfall is failing to prepare, dare to prepare, like before Ramadan, just like you said, as a company LaunchGood, you're preparing for Ramadan, getting the systems where they need to be, getting the product, the features where they need to be 6 months, 8 months prior, right? And that's just the platform. Now, you as a charity, if 80% of your fundraising that's coming in and throughout the year is happening in Ramadan, there's just so much more of a responsibility, so much more of an onus, because again, it's not about, at the end of the day, what makes a charity successful is not about us, the charity, but it's about the impact, the value that we're trying to create. For example, if you're a charity that's trying to raise, so much amount of donations to be able to give Eid outfits to children in Pakistan, orphans, right? Or build a school in Somalia, right? Or with the refugee crisis that may be happening in different parts of the world. We have to prepare because it's not about us at the end of the day, the charity, the organizations. We're just a means to the khair, right? It's at the end of the day, it's about the impact that we're trying to create. And it's our responsibility that, inshallah, we do it with ihsan, we do it with excellence, and we give it that 110%, inshallah. Inshallah.
We have this phrase at LaunchGood. It's one of our values. It's our standard is ihsan.
I love that.
We expect ihsan from ourselves as LaunchGood, so we can allow charities and facilitate ihsan from them. Because ultimately, anyone who is receiving or benefiting from that impact, they deserve ihsan. They deserve the best, and we need to be the best because we are the best ummah with the best prophet and the best book. So how can we allow ourselves to do anything but our best?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Adil, I think we've talked about a lot of things. Is there any particular product that you guys rolled out this Ramadan that, we can talk about, give our viewers a little bit of insights on? And I know we talked about a lot of things. We talked about the ads. We talked about, actually, we didn't talk about influence. You guys launched an influencer.
We touched upon it, yeah.
We touched upon it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So we've got loads of things that are coming out. Like I said, influencer fundraising is really popular. So we have an influencer team. Now their job is to train and teach and coach charities on how to work and engage with influencers in a way that's ethical and aligned with the charity's values. That's important.
So now
but also
the onus is no longer on the organization trying to find it. You guys have helped with that.
So we help them do that work. We're not like an agency. We don't give people influencers, but we support them on that journey. And once an organization has influencers, we can coach them on how to leverage the tools and incentives and features to better prepare and better execute their fundraising strategy with their audience or their following. That's influencers. We've also got things like recurring giving. A lot of people want to donate one time, but a lot of the time you might want to give, just like we said, a little bit, but regularly. So you can donate daily, weekly, monthly, to whatever cause you want. So that's an option for charities. But then we've got the next one, which is probably the most radical product that we've brought. And that's because we work in the online space. We've been in the online space for all of these years. And now we've jumped out of the screens and we have some offline fundraising products and features available. One of them is our event mode.
Oh, yes.
So let's picture.
That was beautiful. Yes.
Imagine you've got a fundraising gala, an iftar, whether it's with 200 people in a hall, or you've invited some friends round. We've got a tool which turns your fundraising page on LaunchGood into a live fundraising thermometer with comments and emojis and interaction. So just picture the man on the stage or the fundraiser saying, everyone, you might have forgotten your wallets at home or you left your cards, but you definitely didn't forget your phone. So scan this QR code, donate what you can. And as a group, as a room, as an audience, we're going to see that thermometer go up to whatever the target is for that night.
And this
you
is
can
happening
do it in
in
a
real
big
time.
gala event, happening in real time.
Wow, mashallah.
Yeah. We have charities doing this at dinners now, pre-Ramadan. We're expecting to see more of it in Ramadan. But even if you just have a dinner party, 5, 10 of you, put it on the TV and use that as a way to, as a group, band together and raise whatever target you have. It's great. And that's just one way that we're entering the offline space. We're always coming out with different products and ideas, and we love hearing ideas as well. So if you're a charity, you're like, I've got this idea, but I don't have a tech team that could develop something, chat to us. And if there's legs to it, we can test it out, and it might be the next big thing.
Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. And then I think you had mentioned, Adil, as well, that from just like the analytics that you're seeing, organizations that are using event modes, they're able to kind of tap into this an entire new arena, right? Because there's that online space, obviously, that online community that's coming together, but now even physically. And we're seeing boost of upwards of 20, 25%, if not more now, inshallah, in Ramadan.
Yeah. It's really, again, it's new. So some organizations are really taking it by the horns and seeing a lot more in funds raised than their traditional methods. But again, this is something that a masjid can do on their screens. This is something that a big charity can do. It's all about engagement.
Absolutely.
Now, when I go to a lot of these fancy fundraising dinners, I love them. They're great. But if I want to donate with my card or my phone, there might be 10 card machines in the whole room. So I'll be waiting. I need a volunteer, or I need to fill out a form.
Exactly.
But imagine 500 people in one go and do everything here. They can donate, they can pledge, they can fill out a form. It's all done. And all the data is secure. It's with the charity.
Yeah.
There's no paperwork. There's no stack of forms that, some poor admin needs to go through the night of the dinner or the day after. Yeah, all of that.
Less chances of errors that are happening when people are filling out the event mode, donating on there. Then as charities, you can always share updates, right? Because now as a charity, you can share updates to the progress, the value, that $100 donation that they made has been able to create such and such ripple impact in the community worldwide.
Yeah, and this is something that's so important. I'm so glad you mentioned it, because charities are great at presenting their causes. That's pretty much what we've spoken about up to now. But the really great ones are the ones that invest in a feedback loop. That after the donation, after Eid, a month later, 6 months later, they're still letting those donors know, here's where your funds went.
Yeah.
It's all about that impact. We've mentioned impact a lot in this podcast, but it's so important to fundraising. The charities that give great feedback, they're the ones that have much more loyal supporters. A one-time donor might give every year or every month, or the next time they want to give their zakat, they're like, I remember what these guys did. I trust them. I want to do it again.
Absolutely.
And it's so underrated.
Absolutely. And that actually brings up a very interesting point too, because it's almost like after Ramadan, it goes so quiet. And rightfully so. But I think what's beautiful is like now that Ramadan, inshallah, has ended, we've reached our goals, we've reached our benchmark. Now what we need to start doing as charities and as organizations is start planting the seeds. So that way, 10, 11 months from now, you can start harvesting. We've planted the seeds. We've been watering it. We've been giving our community updates. Hey, we've been able to create such and such impact, right? These children around the world have been given the education that they're needed because of you coming together, right? So it's very important for us to start planting those seeds, keep watering it, making sure that we're pruning it, so that way when it comes times to harvest, that we're ready to harvest that.
Absolutely. And that's such a nice metaphor for it. It reminds me of something my dad used to tell me. Can't remember the exact words, but he's like, don't be like a politician. Now, he's not saying politics is bad, but he's like, they will come to your house before election day, and they'll tell you all the amazing things they're going to do for you. Once you voted, you don't see them again for 4 years.
Exactly.
We don't want our charities to be like that.
Absolutely.
And it's about planting those seeds and that feedback loop and sharing that impact, because they do great things. More people need to see this.
Absolutely.
We need to shout about it.
Absolutely. Well, Adil, I really enjoyed this conversation. It was really good. And I've taken so much of your time from your immensely busy schedule right now. But if I was to ask just one last thing, if you could give one final piece of advice to anyone that's listening, to the charities, what would that one piece of advice be? I'm putting you on the spot again.
That's a heavy question. Now, aside from everything we've spoken about, fundraising can be hard. It can be competitive. It can be draining, and it can take time away from other priorities and families. But something that I need to remind myself, my teams, any charity, is remind yourself why you're doing this. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of the impact. We're so busy telling other people what the impact of their donations are. Let's have that minute with ourselves and remind ourselves of the impact of our efforts, the impact of our blood, sweat, and tears, or hours bucketing or online fundraising or doing all of that. And again, we're planting seeds in this life for the next.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a platform like LaunchGood, a volunteer, a charity CEO, a masjid imam, or a teacher, anyone and everyone, whether you're a donor or a fundraiser, we are working in this life for the next. And we're here as an ummah to help each other. Yeah. LaunchGood is one part of this ummah, but like we've seen, there's 2.2 million donors on the platform that form part of this ummah as well. And there's 2 billion plus Muslims out there. Absolutely. They can either give or receive. Absolutely. And we just need to connect the two.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Adil. May Allah continue to put immense barakah in everything that you do, Adil. It's not easy. It's the family takes a toll. Everything takes a toll, especially around this time of the year where it's nonstop. Before you know it, it's the night of the 27th. This Eid is right around the corner. So, mashallah, thank you again for all the hard work that you do, to the entire team at LaunchGood. Everyone there, from leadership down to, the boots on the ground that are, calling the charities like, hey, get your campaign up. Mashallah, all the amazing work you guys do it goes without saying. It's, mashallah, very beautiful. And may Allah continue to put barakah in it, allow it to scale beyond your wildest dreams, inshallah. Ameen. And inshallah, next year, it's not going to be 700 million that we just crossed. We're going to be talking about we've crossed, 2 billion, inshallah. That's the goal, inshallah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was great to connect.
Likewise. Thank you so much, inshallah. We'll be in touch. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.